I declare the Audit Committee meeting open at 1 p.m. and welcome everybody. Members of the public are advised that recommendations to Council contained within this agenda can be subject to changes. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming Council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures and to elders past, present and emerging. Record of apologies and leave of absence. I have apologies from Councillor Bromham and I welcome Councillor Hitchcock, who is deputising. And Councillor McCarthy has requested to attend this Audit Committee meeting electronically. So in accordance with Regulation 14C 2B of the Local Government Administration Regs 1996, I have approved this request and satisfied that the location from which Councillor McCarthy intends to attend the meeting and the equipment that she intends to use to attend the meeting is suitable for the member to be able to effectively engage in deliberations and communications during the meeting as per Regulation 14C5 and 14D6 of the regs. Councillor McCarthy, welcome. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay, you're just a bit soft when you speak, so as I did with Councillor Bromham, lean into the mic and nice and loudly. Thank you. Leave of absence is nil. Declarations of members and officers' personal interest. Are there any councillors or staff? No, thank you. Response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. Public question time is nil. Petitions, deputations, presentation and submissions is nil. Excuse me, we'll go into the confirmation of minutes. We have the minutes of the Audit Committee meeting, which was held on Tuesday, the 13th of January 2026, to be confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Morley, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion? We shall put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor McCarthy? Thank you. That is carried. Thank you very much. We will now move into the officers' reports. 8.1, which is the prosecution report for quarter 2. The report, just to note, councillors, the actual report that's attached is a confidential document as well. So if there are any particular questions about the content of that attachment, we will move behind closed doors. If there are any general questions, happy to take them. So I'll get a mover and a seconder for the report first. If I can have a mover, Councillor Coleman, thank you. A seconder, Councillor Morley. Any discussions or questions around that report? Councillor Coleman, thank you.
I'm just wondering if it's in there, I missed it. We have an ongoing issue with some dogs and I didn't see it in this report and I understood it was in front of SAT. So that's probably all I can perhaps say at the moment. Just wondering why it's not in there.
Yes?
Through the chair, I believe it is under there and it was under, I think, direction hearing.
Okay, I just had one general question. I read in the report that the approximate number of prosecution-related cases not progressed due to public interest. So can you provide an example, or what weight is given to determining prosecution going ahead based on the possibility of it not being, is it the possibility of not being reimbursed legally or getting the cost back? Do you see what I'm saying? What weight is given to not proceeding with prosecution?
Sure, and through the chair. So we do detail that, I suppose, in part in the budget implications section of the report. So whether it's in the public interest to pursue, and whether it's proportionate to the response from the Shire of Harvey, so how much we're going to spend, the impact that it might have on the person who we're prosecuting, whether it's something that we're required to prosecute based on maybe a public health concern or safety.
okay.
So generally that proportionality and public interest is discussed with the legal team at McLeod's before we pursue it. But the Director of Sustainable Development might have more information.
Maybe a little bit more. It comes down to the Shire's ability to proceed with prosecutions. It's our discretion. So obviously, if the viability of pursuing to a prosecution, can we achieve voluntary compliance, for example, in that time? If that assists.
Councillor Coleman, question?
Yeah, just a question. I noticed that food has to be prepared in an approved kitchen. Totally get that. But premises that food's sold from also has to be registered under the Food Act. So does that mean that even, and I'll use the example, the Bunnings tent is approved under the Food Act to sell food? How does those sorts of things work? I understand in the kitchen, and I know all the regulations why, but does that mean that all food sold anywhere has to be registered under the Food Act of 2008, which is what this report seems to imply?
Mr Hughes?
So through the chair, thanks for your question. So obviously it depends on location, the type of food being sold. You've got low, medium, high risk food. That goes into things like labelling. So obviously for allergies and the like. And so it depends on the individual scenario. With a Bunnings tent, for example, that's food that's cooked instantly and provided instantly. So that comes under certain regulations. So it depends on the application to us, who's requesting to cook food at Bunnings, what food they're producing and providing there. So it's a case-by-case basis, if that helps.
Alrighty. Are there any other questions, councillors? Councillor Dickinson?
Yes, thank you. And I believe this is quite new, this process of us being presented in this format at this meeting. So we have accusations all the time by members of the public that we do things behind closed doors and, the public don't know what happens. We have an officer's recommendation to accept the report, but for members of the public, they don't know, for example, how many prosecutions there are. So how do we make it a little bit more transparent, possibly, to the community without divulging confidential information?
Looking at you.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. It is a new report, and we can tweak perhaps the amount of information that goes into the public agenda. It is very difficult, but I suppose we could present on the number of active prosecutions inside the cover of the agenda. If that would that help, do you think, or the types of prosecutions, I suppose, under the delegation of the officer?
Yeah, I think just in the current format, there's no information as to the number of prosecutions, all the types. So I think doing something like that would possibly address some of the questions that community may ask going forward.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of a table or something that has the type of prosecution and number.
Yeah, through the chair, that's easy for us to do. It's already contained within the register.
All right. Noted. Any other questions, councillors? Councillor Coleman?
Just a quick one. All the ones before the court, when are we likely to get a result?
Through the chair, that's a bit of a how long's a piece of string. They all go through various processes, and I think for each of the the items, there's about 9 different areas that a prosecution might pass through at a time, and some of them are at different stages. So if they're before the court, potentially it gets deferred, potentially it comes back, it might come before the court several times before they're resolved. But as the Director of Sustainable Development said, sometimes we reach compliance before court as well. So there isn't really a date that I could give, unfortunately, unless you can provide anything further, Director.
So through the chair, they're all individual. They're all individual cases. It's out of our jurisdiction to make. We're not the decision maker, the Shire. So at that stage, when it gets to prosecution, it's the evidence that we provide to the court or SAT, and it's deliberated on. So to give you an exact date for each case, very difficult, and I wouldn't go that far.
Thank you, Mr Hughes. Okay, we've got a mover, Councillor Coleman, seconder, Councillor Morley. If there's no further discussion, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. And I think that report, as it progresses in time, will grow. Yep, thank you. All right, 8.2, the Strategic Risk Register for Q2. We have a officer's recommendation that I'll get a mover and a seconder for, and then I'll open it up to any questions. So do I have a mover for this report? Thank you, councillors. Councillor Hitchcock, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Morley, thank you. Is there any discussion or questions over this one, councillors? Councillor Coleman, thank you.
Thank you. I understand that we are managing it, but I'm just wondering why the scenario, and I hate the negative of it, but anyway, the failure to manage waste sustainably, the risk rating is moderate. I would have thought, even despite the fact that we're managing it, I would have thought the risk was high. So yeah, just a query on that.
CEO.
And I'll pass on to the Manager of Governance and Strategy in regards to the risk rating, but I would suggest that waste is still being collected and disposed of. So therefore the moderate rating has been applied, but I will pass on to the Manager of Governance and Strategy.
Through the chair, I won't pretend to be an expert on waste services. Generally speaking, the manager responsible for the business unit provides the commentary around the waste service. So I'd have to take it on notice why they've assessed it as moderate, but potentially the Director of Infrastructure might be able to help.
Yeah, through the chair, I don't have it in front of me, but I would suspect because waste is still being picked up, still being processed within the rules and regulations, the risk is the sustainable part, is that it's not being recycled the way we would normally do it, i.e. FOGO, etc. So it's still being picked up, still being safely, it's still being processed correctly, but it's not being done sustainably. So I think the risk factor is the sustainable part. It's not being done as environmentally friendly as we would like. I would suspect, probably the wrong terminology, but I suspect that's why it's came around.
Thank you.
I have a question in regards, it's on page 15, in regards to our Ranger service resourcing. So it says that it's a risk rating of moderate, and we have indicates there's an issue in the number of rangers and the increase in operational demand. So I can understand what impact this is having, but how are we addressing that moving forward?
Through the chair, we have got serious concerns in getting rangers. We've contacted I think it's called the Rangers Association of WA, something similar to that, because they typically supply temporary people. We just cannot get anyone. We seem to struggle to recruit. Not just us, I have actually spoken to other local governments. They're having similar issues. Virtually every local government around is struggling to get rangers. There has been initial discussions about sharing rangers, but it just doesn't work because of shift patterns, etc. So it is unfortunately a problem across certainly this area that we're struggling.
We're looking at sharing, not that I particularly want to, but yeah, maybe environmental protection, and this wasn't mentioned in the report, but the shot hole borer, there has been the border, if you like, up in the metro area is moving south. So I wonder why that's not addressed in our environmental protection, and is there the opportunity to look at signage on Forest Highway for people that are moving out of the metro into the regional area, to raise their awareness on the shot hole borer, because at the moment the state government has dropped all care and responsibility around that, and it's moved to local governments to manage. And I think it's still a very high risk for our region. So I'm just wondering if there's any thought about that continued educational platform for the shot hole borer, and maybe why it's not part of our risk management profile for the region.
So through the chair, we can look into that, especially the signage.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions, councillors, on the report? Can I say that on page 45, in regards to the evacuation centre training, in January we had fires, and my discussions with the Department of Communities, our staff who underwent recently to that evacuation centre training performed exceptionally well. So CEO, if you can note that please, was very good. That is all I had. If there's no other questions, the report's moved by Councillor Hitchcock and seconded by Councillor Morley. Can I put this one to the vote, councillors? All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. I'll move on to 8.3, which is the Work, Health and Safety Report for Q2. We have an officer's recommendation here. Do I have a mover for that one, please? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. A seconder? Councillor McCarthy. Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. All right, are there any discussions or questions, councillors, around this report? So I see that in reading the report that the Work, Health and Safety Committee was suspended for some time, but has now been re-established, CEO. So how is that going?
I'll pass on to the Director of Infrastructure Services.
Through the chair, my understanding is there's been no more committee meetings, but it's due to start by the end of March. Currently, we have internal expressions of interest out to get some health and safety reps to join that committee. So I'm not 100% sure what he's up to right now in terms of closing date for the EOI, but maybe, I don't know if you can reply, but I know he's restarting that again for March.
Because along with that is the procedures that have to be drafted up as well? Yeah.
Yeah, and through the chair, the Work, Health and Safety representatives also have to undertake training to be part of that committee. There's a lot of information that they have to be across to govern that committee appropriately. So once the expressions of interest close, they'll go through their training, and then we'll aim to have the first meeting by the end of the year, I would say.
I'm really interested as to why it folded, because I would have thought there was a requirement to have a committee, Work, Health and Safety.
Through the chair, there is no requirement to have one. It is best practice to have one. The main reason was staff turnover and existing reps, for the most part, retiring. Actually, a lot of the reps on our committee were in the outdoor works crew, and they retired. You then have to get people trained into it. We've done things inside our EBA to ensure that those officers are remunerated now. So that might have been a bit of the lag. It's an additional responsibility for officers to take on above and beyond their regular duties. So having them paid to do that work will be helpful. We also had some turnover in the safety team, so having that process run was difficult too. But we have 2 new staff members in the safety team, both from really cool backgrounds in WHS. So yeah, they're hitting the ground running, and we'll.
Yeah, so, but we still have something embedded in our systems to capture those incidences and the like.
So incident reporting and management comes through the Human Resources and Safety team, and so that was ongoing anyway, but the Safety Committee is made up of workers, not the safety representatives.
Excellent. Any other questions? Councillor Coleman?
Thank you. I think the Manager of Governance just touched on it. So the incident and hazard reporting was listed as sort of ineffective. When will that be effective?
Sure, through the chair. So I have reviewed the documents produced by our new safety team. They were noted as being ineffective because the information that staff were providing on them wasn't giving us real insight to the problem or the cause of issues. So the update has been to really, one, simplify the documents and procedures to make it easier for our staff to provide the relevant information, and 2, enable us to report on it a little bit more easily through things such as this, but also through our online systems as well. So ineffective currently for the organisation, but they were existing. So we're still using our incident reporting forms and hazard reporting forms now. They're just going to be updated to be more effective.
Any further questions, councillors? Okay, we have the move by Councillor Dickinson, seconded by Councillor McCarthy. We'll put this one to the vote, councillors. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Alrighty, we'll move on to item number 8.4, which is the Audit Reg 17 quarterly report. This is for quarter 2. We have an officer's report or recommendation here. Do I have a mover for this one? Thanks, councillors. Councillor Coleman, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Dickinson, thank you. Are there any questions in relation to this one? Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, just a quick one. I noticed that the Shire's completed an audit of all the leases. Now, we've talked before about we've got some managements, we've got a range of different ones. So is that an audit of formal leases, or is that an audit of everything?
Through the chair. Unfortunately, I was going to present that to Concept Forum last Tuesday and I was unwell, but that is all of our existing buildings. So we've looked at any type of tenure arrangement across the $70 million worth of assets that have a tenure arrangement in place. I think there was 26 that didn't have an agreement, 13 expired, and about 68 community leases.
Sorry, how much was the value you said? I missed that.
71 million.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions, councillors? No, we'll put this one to the vote. All those in favour for the report? That is carried. Thank you. Alrighty, councillors. If there being no more further business, I declare this Audit Committee meeting closed at 1:23 p.m. Thank you very much for your attendance.